As far as I remember, I've always been passionate by the oceans, and especially sharks. The Jean-Jacques Cousteau's adventures have burst in my childhood. I was fascinated by marine life. I wanted to see these animals, to know them. I quickly realized that sharks are not the killing machines described by Hollywood. And I also quickly understood that the oceans and all marine life is under danger, and then we have to protect it. When I turned 18, I decided to learn how to dive to be able to see some sharks. I immediately fell in love with the feelings and decided to start traveling and diving Asia, Africa, gather experiences and discovering new species. And here we are, 2013, a few years later, a marine biology degree in my bag, and the lack of hope in the future of my beloved oceans. But let's get back to the beginning. It was in 1945 that Jean-Jacques Cousteau invented the first scuba diving equipment. He spent the rest of his life traveling the world on his boat, making movies, showing people how marine life was. A few years later, he had gathered a lot of experience and a huge awareness of the ocean's role and situation. His dive, his experiences, changed him as a human being and made him a better man. So what would be Cousteau's opinion about today's situation? Scuba diving has become a huge industry. Thousands of people all around the world dive, and most of them still overlook the spiritual aspect of diving. As a diver, you're going in an element in which you don't belong. You're supposed to be the one understanding the oceans and telling people how fascinating marine life is. The most important thing that sometimes divers overlook, forget, or ignore is that you can interact, communicate with marine life like nowhere else on Earth. This is due to three main reasons: the freedom of movement, the density of life, and the importance of water. Okay, first of all, the freedom of movement. As a diver, you're evolving in a 3D dimension playground. You weight nothing, and you have complete freedom of movement. You can go up, down, take whatever position you want to take. This freedom of movement is one of the clues that will allow you to interact with marine life as you would never do on Earth. Okay, then, the density of life. Diving on a reef, you're likely to encounter all different levels of the food chain gather on the same reef. It's like if in the savannah under a single tree you would meet a zebra, a hippo, a lion, a snake, a monkey. Then, importance of water. Finally, as a diver, you're evolving in water, which has particularities that air doesn't. Due to water's density, vibrations travel 10 times faster than on Earth. So, many animals have the ability to feel your beatings, your movements. They can literally see through you. and detect stress. Okay, now that you know why, we're gonna start to see how. But first of all, I want to warn you, I'm not the best diver in the world. I'm not gonna give you tricks that works every time, anywhere, or with any animal. But if I get to change few ones, making them living their dives differently, or getting more involved in sea conservation, well, my efforts will not have been vain. Okay, first of all, the rules of interaction, and first as a group. Observing nature, you will quickly understand that it's a protection tool together. On Earth, as in the oceans, animals will evolve on their own or as a group, depending on their interest. For the exact same reason, animals will look at you differently if you 1, 2, 5, 10. Remain as a compact group will be useful for the observation of some species because they're shy, because you're taking a prey behavior. If you start spreading out, you will become intrusive and you will scare the animal. For other species, like some sharks, staying as a group will not develop their interest for you. Like in the African savanna, lions wait for an old or injured subject to step out of the group. Well, sharks like tiger shark, for example, work the same way. If you're part from the group, they will be more interested in you. But if everybody does the same, it will go away, because you're no longer as compact group, and you're becoming intrusive. For other shyer species, it could also be a good strategy to be on your own, or apart from the group, than being with 2 or 3 stupid guys on your shoulder, pointing torches at the animal. And I'm just talking of not being too intrusive for the animal, not being alone at 60 meters. Your chances of interaction will depend on this. The intrusivity notion is very important, and you will have to appreciate it every time, and it will really vary along every dives depending of the species, the specimen you're facing, the time of the year, the situation. Okay, now on your own. Even if each species has its own particularities, there are similarities on how every species will react on your behavior, your posture, and more generally, what you're going to do with your body. It's obvious, but you're more likely to intimidate an animal by moving like this. In the same logic, you will be less intrusive by moving like that. All animals, including man, are genetically programmed to understand the body language of stress, even though it's expressed by a complete different animal. The 2 main things you will be able to play with are your size and your shape. Your size will be how big you appear to the animal. Do you look big or small? Of course, you will adapt function of the animal you're trying to interact with. Your shape will represent the behavior you're playing. You can be vertical, horizontal, rolled up. It will more be a way to express your feelings. Okay, one thing I've discovered is that there are neutral positions where the animal will be more likely to ignore you. Like a tiger will be less interested in you if you remain standing up than if you're swimming. By remaining straight, you look big. You will not look like a prey. A neutral position will allow you to observe the animal, but sometimes it will not develop the animal's interest for you. Okay, until now you must think that most of the things I told you are logic and obvious. Well, here comes the moment people start to think I'm crazy. To interact with marine animal, you will have sometimes to play out your emotions, sending messages with your body, expressing anger, curiosity, aggressivity. First of all, the animal is most likely to see your face and your expression in your eyes. Your eyes, your eyebrows, your voice, your breathing will allow you to send messages. Following the same logic, you will be able to use your body, your arms, your fingers to portray your emotions in the same way that the animal will do. I also believe that the equipment can sometimes also make a difference to make you interesting or intrusive. Once again, there's no rule. I can't say this type of mask will make cuttlefish feel confident, but I do believe that the size, the shape of your equipment, your mask does play a role. And even sometimes your camera, as we will see later. Okay, now the approach. The approach will be the phase you will try to get an interaction by sending messages to the animal and trying to answer the ones it will send to you. Stress will be the basis of this phase. You're gonna have to detect it and try to move forward to calm the animal. It is not necessarily a bad thing if the animal is stressed. What you don't want is a big difference in the animal's stress level and the one you will appear to be. Like for example, if you're trying to get closer to the animal and start seeing the animal trying to move away from you, pretend to do the same and start moving away as well, to imitate the animal's stress level. More generally, if the animal moves away from you, even the smaller movement, you should either stop moving or even move away as well, and act impressed, scared, stressed. That will help calming the animal. You will have to be aware of the animal's feeling and act consequently. Okay, now that you must think I'm a bit nuts, I'm gonna go a little further. Since the beginning, I'm talking about interaction. Now I'm gonna start talking about communication. Communication is the activity of conveying information through the exchange of thoughts, messages, or information, as by speech, visuals, signals, writing, or behavior. Most of the time, when you will encounter an animal, the first phase of the interaction will be a phase of stress, which means fears, which can lead to aggressivity. This will be the most difficult part. You're gonna have to calm the animal, making him be okay with your presence, and sometimes get its attention, its interest. It is the most difficult part by far, and you will not be the one deciding. The animal gonna have to be in a good disposition, right place, right time. When you manage to pass this first phase, then will comes the second phase, which I call curiosity identification. The animal will be interested in you, will try to figure out what kind of animal you are, and sometimes when you push this phase far enough and you will achieve to convince the animal you're from the same species, the next phase can be creation of a social link, like parents, children, mating, playing. So let me continue. You meet an animal, start acting like him, then he may adopt you. Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's more or less the main idea. And once again, I'm talking about living, smart and thinking animal. I'm not pretending to establish fixed rules that works every day on every specimen, on every species. Each specimen is different and each interaction will be different as well. Okay, now the communication. And first, the mirror effect. Well, this is the simplest and the most interesting way of communication. You will have to act exactly the same way the animal you're trying to interact with to pass the stress phase, and then move to the curiosity identification step. It works like a balance. By increasing the curiosity of the animal, you will decrease its stress level. I remember a story of a National Geographic reporter who was diving with a sea leopard. For those who don't know what a sea leopard is, it's just the second biggest predator of Antarctic seas. Its average size is 3.5 meters and it weighs around 500 kilos. And its teeth are 1 inch long. So the thing that happened is that the camera of the reporter allows him to reproduce the size and the shape of the animal. And one particular animal was first aggressive and stressed. The diver, by remaining calm, managed to pass this phase, and the sea leopard kind of adopted him as a sea leopard, bringing him penguins, showing him how to feed, like it would do with a juvenile. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. You get first the aggressivity and stress, then you have the curiosity and identification phase, and then you get to establish a social link where the sea leopard thought he was a juvenile. But let me show you this with a complete different animal. Cuttlefish. Cuttlefish belongs to the octopus family. Like him, it is a really smart animal. Stressed, it can change color, but will also raise its two upper tentacles. That is its genetically programmed behavior to try to impress you, because it appears bigger. But that will also allow the cuttlefish to get ready at spraying ink at the aggressor to add the escape. So basically what I'm going to do to try to communicate with cuttlefish is that I'm going to use my hand to reproduce the size and the shape of the animal, and by the way, its stress level. I'm going to slowly move my hand forward and look what the animal is going to do. I'm going to slowly move my hand forward and look for the animal's reaction. The body language of the cuttlefish to express its stress would be raising its two upper tentacles. So I'm going to simply reproduce the posture of the animal with my hand. This will create the curiosity of the animal, and for different reasons. My hand just switched to the exact same position and the exact same moment that the cuttlefish did. And most of all, it is remaining in this position. By doing this, I send the message that I'm in the exact same stress level than the cuttlefish is. After, by slowly lowering my fingers, I'm now sending the new message that my stress level is decreasing. And the answer of the cuttlefish to this message would be the decreasing of its own stress level. The stress just became useless. Oh. My behavior just proved that I'm not a threat, because I was scared too. And finally, by completely releasing my hand, I'm now sending the new message that I'm not stressed anymore. And the answer to this message will be the disparition of the stress in the animal body language. And once again, it is a genetically programmed behavior facing an animal which stopped to be stressed, because the stress in this particular situation just became useless and the animal starts feeling safe. The animal will then switch to the curiosity phase. If it tries to establish a physical contact, you can just go with it to let the animal get more information about you and try to establish a social link. And I've just been talking about my hand, but there are so many other elements that will play a crucial role in this interaction, like your depth. Being deeper than the cuttlefish will send the message that you impress, shy. Increasing your breathing and your heartbeat during the stress level, or decreasing it after the stress phase, will emphasize this message. And as I told you earlier, cuttlefish has the ability to switch color, to express their emotions. The expression of your face, your eyes, once again, will emphasize your messages. Those are all the tools I use to communicate with a cuttlefish. And one last time I want to repeat. We are talking about living and smart animal. There's no rules. You can't just go and dive and establish this kind of contact every time. You're sometimes gonna have to wait for the animal to be in a good mood. The best thing you can do is put a maximum of chance on your side and wait for nature to be generous with you. But we all know stories like this, when an animal just acts really friendly, being not shy at all. And that's what makes scuba diving this special. There is another mechanism of communication, which is the circumstance mimicry. You see an animal doing something, just start doing something. You will increase its curiosity and decrease its stress level. On a reef, you have sorts of resting areas where animals like to go to rest when they are not feeding. You also have cleaning stations where fish likes to go to be cleaned by smaller fish. Well, this principle remains quite simple. The animal is doing something, just try to adopt a behavior which switch in the situation, to try to avoid the stress phase and create the curiosity. I end up establishing 4 different groups of behavior the animal can have facing a diver: the curious, the dominant, the shy, and the snubber. Of course, the same animal can belong to a different group of behavior, looking at the situation, of the condition. Okay, first the curious. Those are animals that will immediately understand you're not a threat. They will act with curiosity and there would be no stress phase. Of course, stress could appear later, depending on your actions, but generally, those will be the craziest interactions. The animal will come at you, and it would be the animal engaging the interaction. Then the dominant. Animals who belong at the high level of the food chain. As predator, the interaction will be codified, less flexible than it would be with other species. Potentially dangerous shark can belong to this behavior. Then the shy. Animal who can belong to the first steps of the food chain. The biggest obstacle to communicate with such animals would be the stress phase, which will be sometimes unapproachable. But the social link could be really funny, because it would be sometimes symbiotic. And finally, the snubber. Animal with you will have lots of difficulty to get their interest. Most of the time, the main thing you will be able to do is to let them accept you to achieve to get close. And once again, I want to warn you. I'm just describing the 4 major behaviors the animal you will encounter can adopt. True, a dolphin could be one day curious, then the next day snubber. The day after, a shark can be curious, then the next day snubber. The knowledge of the features of different species, mating behavior, physical particularities is sometimes useful, as you will see in the following example, because they will help you understanding the animal's behavior and adapting. Okay, now let's see sharks. This is one of the main reasons why I decided to make this movie. Even among divers, it's crazy to see how many people still don't understand these animals. One of the worst mistakes is the confusion made between all different species of sharks. You're just afraid of sharks because they're sharks, because Hollywood told you so. Well, the truth is that most of sharks are small fish eaters, and they don't have strong enough jaws to eat you. Okay, now, how many sharks could really take a human being as a prey? Great white, tiger, white tip, bull shark, a few other? Well, it's only a few species, and believe me, they are not that easy to spot. And even if you dive with these boys, you will be safe. Well, I'm gonna put it this way. Diving with sharks is exactly like driving your car. There's things you do, and there's things you should not do. You would never drive your car without your seatbelt fastened, or reading the newspaper, or really tired, or after a big party. Well, it's the exact same thing with sharks. As long as you don't do stupid things, you will be okay. Okay, for example, facing a tiger shark, if you turn your back and start swimming away, it will probably try to attack you. They are predators. They are genetically programmed to do so. It would be the same thing in the savannah with a lion, an elephant. It would be the same thing at my grandma with a goose. And you're not afraid of goose. Actually, my sister is, but yeah. If a tiger shark is swimming at you and you remain stand up, facing him, you would be safe. Okay, tiger shark, like most sharks, is really lazy. It will be more likely to attack and injure dead prey than a healthy one. If a tiger sees you and takes interest in you, it will try to get closer to figure out what you are, but it will always try to come outside of your vision field. And if you face him and stare him, it will swim away. Well, this is a common behavior with many sharks. Eye contact is really stressful for them. They will always turn if you look them in the eye, but they will also always try to come at you to figure out what you are. Sharks have long-range smell organs, but also short-range ones. The closer they come, the more information they get. Those are the reasons why sharks will always try to get out of your vision champ to get closer. It is stressless and answers curiosity. It's not because they are vicious animals trying to attack you by surprise. It's funny, but it's even a trick if you want the shark to come closer than your camera. But this is a question people always ask me. When you face a shark, how does it react? I always tell them 90% of the time, when it sees you, it disappears. And the rest of the time, it will come at you 2 or 3 times and then disappear. There's also one thing really important with sharks, the depth, and more precisely, your depth. Like I told you earlier, being close to the surface in the water column or on the bottom will not send the same message, but it will be different every time. Someday, being at the bottom will allow you to observe the animal because you're not intrusive. But on another day, that will make you being not interesting, and you will be not able to create the shark's curiosity, and the sharks will disappear. On the other hand, being close to the surface will someday create the shark's interest for you, because you're intrusive. It will create his curiosity. But you may also impress the animal and make him disappear. The thing is that sharks are really complex animals, and each shark is different. Some like to hang close to the bottom, like bull sharks. Others like to be in the water column, like oceanic whitetips. But every situation will be different. A tiger shark can someday appear at the bottom and another day at the surface. He can be really shy one day and really curious the next day. Okay, now even in the worst scenario, the tiger shark managed to get out of your sight and is coming at you. Well, there's 3 possibilities. The first possibility is that the shark will try to come closer to get a better look with his Lorenzini ampulla and then turn because he will be scared. And you will end your dive without being aware that you've met a shark. And the word close can be ironic sometimes. Shark will be scared even before you could see him. Okay, now scenario number 2. It will slowly come behind you, and if it's calm enough and relaxed enough, it will poke you with its head to see what you are. You will move, and that will scare him, and he will go away, and you will never see him again. And if you think about this, poking the animal is like a genetic behavior. You will do the exact same thing in the savannah, meeting an animal you don't know if it's alive or not. You're going to poke him with a stick or something. Okay, now scenario number 3. It will bump your leg, you will not move, and then it will bite you. But once again, this is not an attack, at least the first bite. It's like an inspection bite to figure out what you are. It's a genetically programmed behavior. You have the same one. You don't do this with your mouth, but when you don't know what something is, you just touch it and you bring your finger to your nose and you smell. This is what the shark is trying to do, like, oh, what's this? And he's also trying to create a reaction because he's curious. And then he might rip your leg off. But the truth is that a tiger shark will never come that close to you if you're not calm, relaxed, and steady and a part of the group. So let me resume. To be attacked by a tiger shark, you need to be diving in a place you can meet a tiger shark. To be diving maybe on your own. The tiger shark is coming behind you. You didn't see the shark coming. He just bumped your leg and you didn't feel anything. And then he's eating your leg. I think you made some mistake on the way. Like if you're sleepless and you've been drinking and you've been smoking and you're driving your car and you crash into a tree, it's not the tree's fault. Okay, now it's time to do an exercise. If I show you this, is that dangerous? Sharky, sharky, sharky! Ah! Well, the answer is no. Those sharks are oceanic blacktips. They are small fish eaters. The only risk would be to shake your gloveless hand away from your body such that the sharks will mistake it for an injured fish. But even if you get bite by one of those sharks, you will still have your hand. It would just be like a dog bite. The shark will immediately realize you're not a fish, he will be scared and he will go away. The truth is, you could swim with them, touch them without any risk. It is even really interesting the way they will interact with you when you will stop remaining stand up and start swimming among them. They will come at you to get really close, and sometimes you would just feel like you're one of them. Those sharks are rag-toothed sharks. The average size is 2 meters. They feed on fish, mollusks, rays, and they are not likely to consider a diver as a potential prey. They are really shy and peaceful animals, and most of the time afraid of men. Those are the sharks you often see in aquarium. They look scary, but they are not dangerous. This shark is an oceanic whitetip. The average size is 2 to 3 meters. Even if it can occur in some reef like in Egypt, those are really opportunistic sharks, feeding on live or dead animal it comes across. It often follows migration of pelagic species, waiting for an opportunity. Because of its life environment, poor in food resources, this shark is potentially dangerous, because it might estimate everything it comes across as a potential prey. Those sharks will be really responsive to prey behavior, like being apart from the group. In a complete different style, reef white-tip sharks are sedentary sharks. They are smaller, and unlike oceanic white-tips, those sharks are really shy, and they will almost never come at you to get an interaction. They occur on coral reefs, where they feed on small fish, crabs, and mollusks. They feed at night, and during the day, most of the time, you will meet them hiding under corals for protection. Not really the lifestyle you would expect it for a shark. The truth is that there are so many different species of shark, and there's so many different types of behavior and lifestyle. That's why you can't just say, I've been diving with sharks. It's like you would say, I've been hunting feline. You can talk about a cat or about a lion. When you just talk about shark, it implies the behavior and the stereotypes the Hollywood movies educated the people with. And nowadays, even if people all around the world are aware that the shark fins industry kills thousands of sharks every year, they sometimes are too lazy to contribute to the sea conservation, because they have no idea that their opinion on sharks is completely wrong. There's only a few numbers of species responsible of attack on humans. And even when a tragedy happens, we need to look at the conditions. They are marine animals, and we don't belong in the oceans. It is the shark diversity that regulates the oceans. Their role in the marine ecosystem is so important that the survival of the oceans is based on their protection. Okay, now I'm going to talk about manta rays. Manta rays are totally harmless animals. They feed on planktonic organisms. They are so beautiful animals. The average size differs from 2 to 5 meters, but they can grow up to 7 meters. They are fascinating animals. The ones you see in these pictures are from the Komodo National Park. Manta rays have 2 huge cephalic lobes under the eyes that they use to guide water while filtering it for feeding. These lobes are like 2 40-centimeter tongues that will express their feelings. It doesn't mean that when these lobes are rolled up, the animal is stressed, and when they are released, the animal is relaxed. But releasing these organs allows the animal to feel water vibrations in a better way, because they are vertical. And manta's shape, with both lobes rolled up, is like a furtive aircraft. In the meantime, manta's body language is complete by the way they move. The way they're gonna swim, the speed they're gonna adapt, will express their behavior as well. The body language of the manta rays is just so easy to understand. The way they move, the way they use their fins. I'm just swimming like the manta and using my arm. She starts looking me from side. That means she's curious. Both lobes are relaxed, and she's just like stopping moving. And every time she moves their fins, I do exactly the same. She go close to the bottom, I do the same. And you can clearly see the curiosity of the animal. She's totally relaxed. Of course, she can come back to the stress phase if I do something wrong. And sorry about the picture, but filming while you're swimming like a manta is not that easy. This is another one. She's coming from far, and I saw her like looking me, turning her head. And I think this means curiosity. So as you see the manta coming, I'm moving exactly like she is doing. Every time she uses her fins, I use my arm. When she stops moving, I do the same. And she's coming right at me. This is the curiosity identification phase. Then you see she starts swimming away, and she's getting more in the water column. But then I pretend to do the same, like going away as well. By simulating the escape, I achieved to calm her. She immediately slowed down and started turning. I do exactly the same. And she's coming back, and I'm going really close to the bottom to be less intrusive as possible. But I see she's not going close to the bottom, she's going high. That means she's gonna go away. And that's what she's doing. But you clearly see on this one the animal taking interest, then starting to swim away, and I achieved to make it come back. The interaction would be completely different in cleaning station. This is more like a circumstance mimicry. Cleaning stations are rocks where you have small fish and mantas come and gonna swim just above these rocks. It's more generally places where you have a strong current that allows the animal to breathe without any efforts. A few things really interesting that people don't know about mantas. First of all, if you touch a manta with your hand, she can die. Manta rays have a protective mucus all over the body that protects them from the bacteria in the water. Once you touch that mucus, it will take weeks and weeks before coming back, and the manta can die of infection. Another thing is that manta have the ability to abort at any time if they are stressed, like chased by a boat. But there are so many things we don't know yet about these animals. Hundreds of mantas are hunted every year for their fins. The fins industry is a worldwide mafia that makes millions of dollars every year by destroying the oceans. Whether you're a diver or not, it is everybody's responsibility to protect the oceans. We got one planet, one chance.